Sunday night in Brooklyn, Kyrie Irving locked in an astounding 50-40-90 season. This means shooting percentages of over 50%, field goals overall, over 40% on threes, and more than 90% from the free throw line. He becomes the 9th player in NBA history to do so. Despite that, Kyrie shared a bit with the media over the weekend on where his focus is.
I'm not going to lie to you guys. A lot of stuff is going on in this world, and basketball is just not the most important thing to me right now. There's a lot of stuff going on overseas. All my people are still in bondage all across the world, and there's a lot of dehumanization going on. So, I apologize if I'm not going to be focused on y'all questions. It's just too much going on in the world for me to just be talking about basketball. Like, I focus on this 24/7 most of the time, but it's just too much going on in this world not to address. My goal out here, my purpose is to help humanity, and I can't sit here and not address that. I don't care which way you stand on either side. If you're a human being, then you would support, the anti-war effort that's going on. There's a lot of people losing their lives, children, a lot of babies, and that's just what I'm focused on. So if you guys want to ask me questions about the game, I really don't care about it, but except just everybody leaving out of the game healthy and being able to go home to their families.
Stephen A.
I'm trying to find a delicate way to say what I want to say. Kyrie Irving really doesn't get how he's been coming across. So let me try to break this down. Do you really think that people don't care that others are starving? Do you really think that people don't care that people are dying? Do you really think that people don't care? It could be the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It could be racism and prejudice. It could be our nation's sordid history involving slavery and beyond. It could be all of those things. He doesn't realize that when he says stuff the way that he's saying, you're implying that other people don't care. But you do. I know Kyrie cares. I truly believe his heart is in the right place. I would also like to remind Kyrie Irving that you played 17 games as a collegiate athlete, but you still ended up going in the NBA and generating millions of dollars for yourself. How much would you be focused on these issues if you had to worry about paying your bills, feeding your family, and surviving? He wouldn't have to be concerned about those things. Now, why do I bring that up? Because it's not what he feels, it's who he's talking to, why he says it. I really don't care what y'all have to ask. That's not what's on my mind. You can't chew gum and walk at the same time? You just finished playing basketball. That is your job. And what you're saying is that it's not important. Now, you haven't played like it because he's a showstopper. He's box office. He's absolutely electrifying. And we have to pay attention to that. You walk through the turnstile to see Kyrie Irving because he's that special. Mm-hmm. But the flip side to it is that, my God, you better win. Because when you sit up here and you have that kind of attitude, but then you go out there, if you lose, when the expectation is for you to win, people are going to point to moments just like that. And the reason they're going to have an attitude with you is not because you cared and you may have prioritized something else in the crevices of your mind more so than basketball. It's that you're implying that other people don't. When you say stuff like that, we all care about that. We don't want to see people dying. We don't want to see people struggling. We don't want to see people starving. Of course, particularly if you're black, you have been ravaged by racism and prejudice and bigotry and being marginalized and minimized. We all go through that. This is not new to him. So when you sit up there and you look at people and you say stuff like that, you're talking to other people and you're saying, well, this might not be on your mind, but it's on my mind. And the fact is, you don't know. It's just that people may have jobs to do, like you have a job to do. So while you're there, just do it. Do your job. And part of his job is, oh my God, stop the presses. Your job might actually be not just playing basketball, but answering questions about it for 10 minutes. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Really? Have we done something that tragic, Max? Where to ask you about your job. Come on, man. Come on, man.
I hear everything you're saying, Stephen A. I'm not going to get on Kyrie today about that. I didn't get on him last time because I think we've all felt in life where we've seen some things going on in the world or learned about them and said, wait a minute, the world should stop spinning right now until that's addressed. Like, we should not be paying attention to any trivial thing in the world until that's addressed. So I hear you, Kyrie, and I agree with you. There are terrible things happening in this world. And sometimes answering questions about basketball or anyone doing their job feels ridiculous until, whoa, everybody, all 7 billion of us, let's take care of that, right? But what Stephen A., what you're talking about is being a professional. You know who I think about? Our colleague here at ESPN, Teddy Atlas. Ever talk to Teddy or read anything that Teddy's written about his father and how his father showed him how to be a professional, what that really means? Talk to Magic Johnson, talking about, like, I can't get the papers or what was it, the garbage, his garbage off the stoop. It's frozen. His dad's, when he's a kid, it doesn't matter if it's frozen. Our job is to collect that. You go chip the ice away and go get it, right? About being a professional. Stephen A., your mother, my father. These people spent decade after decade after decade making a living caring for large families, right? You can't miss a day of work. You know, you can't be sick. Don't get sick. And if you are, figure it out. Being a professional, I get every single thing you're saying. I would just say to Kyrie that I get how you feel, Kyrie, and oftentimes I and many feel the same way. And I appreciate that when microphones are in front of your face and cameras are on you, you're saying, wait a minute, people are listening to me right now. I can't talk about a pick and roll. I need to talk about babies dying and how to stop this. Kyrie, I hear you and I agree. I would just like to point out something, and Stephen A., I think essentially we're agreeing on this, but you tell me if it's anything different. The reason the microphones are on you and the cameras are on you is because you're great at basketball. That's why people care what you say. And if you really care about even delivering that message, if you want to amplify your voice to change the world, as stupid as it may seem, win. Stephen A., Muhammad Ali would not mean what he meant in history. He'd be more of a footnote if he lost to George Foreman in Zaire. That's just the way it is. People would not be talking about him the same way, and he would not have had the voice he had. So if Kyrie is really serious about this, and I believe in his sincerity about this, win. Not just be box office, do your best to amplify your voice, and however you feel, whatever this means about the society you live in, people will pay attention if you win.
Can I ask, I'm going to ask a rhetorical question here, and if anybody is offended by this, my apologies, because I mean no offense. Do we get to pay attention to the ratings and the fact that some would argue, whether it's true or not, that one of the reasons the NBA has struggled because of all the attention that has been brought to things? We understood what happened last year. We understood how tough last year was. We understand the need to make sure that nobody forgets, no matter what the situation is. Right now, you know, just recently, it was the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Of course, there was George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and the list goes on and on and on. And we were here on the air bringing attention to those things too. But when does it come a point in time where the NBA, for example, in this particular instance, as the playoffs are about to begin, would a year that has ravaged the economy, it's left over 22 million people unemployed, and you're looking for a reprieve, at least momentarily, from all the things that plague us as a society, when does the NBA get to sit up there and say, while we lose hundreds of millions of dollars because the COVID-19 pandemic and other things have ravaged our business, but y'all are still getting paid? When do we get to look at you and say, could you help us continue to market this product, not just with your play on the court, but when you show up in press conferences? Because as people watch and we're trying to get an audience back, isn't it somewhat incumbent upon the people being paid to entertain and to play this game, to make a contribution towards helping our bottom line? At some point in time, we got to be adult enough and grown up enough to have those kind of discussions, because last time I checked, there's nobody on the planet stopping Kyrie or any other athlete from going out there and preaching and talking their talk about their truth and what's going on in this real world. What they're saying is, let's not convolute it to the point where we think that's what we have to talk about and we get to ignore what part of our job description is.
Yep.
And I think that's important to recognize, because we have to do it. You got issues. Molly, you got some issues you care about daily.
Yeah.
I have issues I care about daily. So does Max. But it doesn't mean that we get to come on First Take and talk about those issues and not talk about sports, because that's our job.
Yep. But there's another novel idea also. Say you're answering questions for 10 minutes. You can answer questions about basketball, and then you can sneak in a little bit about what's on your mind and your heart. And that's really where you're headed. So you could do both.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, interesting discussion,
As opposed
guys.
to telling the world, I'm really not interested. I don't care what y'all ask me about that. Really? While people are getting ready for the playoffs. I don't care. All right, so what you going to say next? It don't matter if you win? Is that next? Because it matters to a whole bunch of people in Brooklyn. I can assure you that.
More than just Brooklyn. All right, nobody knows how dangerous LeBron